Hello everybody, it is I, and I'm here with a special video today as part of the, looking back and reflecting on 2011 now that the year is almost done. It's December 29th right now. And I was thinking earlier, I've generally thought of this year as a pretty dismal and depressing year that not too much has come of it. But when I really started thinking about it, this year had a number of redeeming qualities for me and things that were really positive. So, despite all the negative feelings I had this year and despite all the setbacks and letdowns I've had, I've compiled a list of the 11 best things that made 2011 not completely suck. Now, I did a top 11 list partially because, Doug Walker, the nostalgia critic, does it, and partially because 11 things for 2011. Makes sense, doesn't it? Alright, so I'm going to now list the 11 things that made 2011 not completely suck. Okay, number 11 is I got my own place. Now, sure, it might not be much. It might be a relatively poor apartment, but it's in a decent town, and it's decently big. And for what it is, it's not bad, Couple bugs, maybe. But, not like an infestation or anything. It's a nice place. It is good to be able to come home to your own place, even if it's only an apartment, and say, this is mine, I've earned this, I've worked, and I've earned this, and this is mine. And it's nice, because when I began this year, I was sleeping on a futon in my parents' basement, an unfinished basement at that, and now I'm sleeping on this bed in this nice white-walled apartment. So, that's number 11. Number 10, nobody in my family has died this year, and that's something you don't usually think about, because you don't think about when things don't happen. When I consider how many people in my family are elderly or getting close to being elderly, I mean, my dad turned 60 this year, and the fact that not only did no one die, but nobody was even seriously sick or close to dying this year is something I should be thankful for. Among my friends and family and people I know, pretty much everyone is doing a-okay, as good as they had been doing at the beginning of the year. So that's something you really have to reflect and be grateful for, and it's more than I can say for several people I know. A colleague of mine at work just lost his grandfather, and it's a very sad thing, and you have to be grateful for who you have around. This list is kind of in order, but it's also kind of not, because I thought of this just today. But number 9 is my new computer, the one that I'm looking at now. Well, actually, I'm looking at the monitor. The computer itself is over here, but this new computer has done wonders for me. From 2007 to 2011, to May of 2011, I had been dealing with that old, crappy laptop. It's not that crappy. Actually, let me show it to you. Have I ever shown my laptop on camera? Yeah, this is the laptop that I used for all the time up until now. It's a Dell. It's a Latitude, what is it? D610. Yeah, nothing special. It's it was good for what it was, but what it was inadequate for me. And being able to have this new computer has opened up so many possibilities for me. Before, my Let's Plays were all stuttering and everything, and the quality wasn't too good, but now Sims 2 looks amazing. SimCity no longer flashes. It's smooth, it's amazing, and now I can play games that I couldn't have dreamed of playing on my old computer. it's just opened up so many new possibilities for me, and I really feel like I've joined the modern age, at least in some small way. And this ties in nicely to point 8, which is discovering Minecraft. And this might seem like a trite thing, but it's really not, because when you find something that you can get into, like really into, it's a wonderful thing. And, very rarely has a game come along that's grabbed me as strongly as Minecraft has. I mean, I can talk about the SimCity games, The Sims, and Civilization 3, and now Minecraft, follows in that tradition of games that just really grab me and captivate my attention. It's like, I've probably said this before, but the game, Minecraft, seems like it was made for me. Like Notch was thinking, this guy who lives in Pennsylvania, what would the ideal game for him be? I mean, it's just so amazing, a wide open sandbox, you can do what you want, it's just, but you have to work to get what you need, and it's just very compelling and very gratifying to, design and build things and explore, and it's just an all-around great game. And it's also brought me, it's brought a new thing for me to do on my YouTube channel, and it's an activity that my YouTube friends and I, my forum friends mostly, can do together with the Minecraft multiplayer. I mean, I really feel like this game has enriched my life. And at the beginning of this year, I had never even heard of it. And now I'm a, what I would laughingly call a, moderately good Minecraft player. Okay. Now, the 7th thing that is good about this year is I've become a lot closer to a lot of my friends at work. Now, I've always, been friendly with the majority of the people I worked with, but, in previous years, most of the time, I'd come in, I'd clock in, I'd do my work, then I'd clock out and go home. If I talked to anyone, it would be mostly incidental. But this year, I really started spending more time getting to know several of the co-workers I work with. And I mean, I don't talk about work much on my channel, but I think it's important to mention this because, there was a period in, the middle of the summer, leading up till September or so, where things were just so dark in my life and so depressing that I almost didn't feel human anymore. And, just being able to, after a day, which could range from, just okay to like completely hellish, and then be able to talk to these people and just talk about things, work or not work related, it really gave me a connection to the human race, and I can't express how much gratitude I have towards those people for doing that. I know none of them watch my suddenplant channel, but yeah, that's just it was important for me to acknowledge them. All right, number 6 on the 6th thing that was good about this year is me getting into sports a lot more, specifically Philly sports, because all my life I had never really been a close follower of any sport. Like, I would watch a game or two if my dad was watching it and nothing else was really going on. I'd say, okay, I sit down and watch this with you, but I didn't know what was going on or anything. And I know there's a lot of people out there, especially like in the gaming community, like the more, we're nerds basically, but there's this like attitude among so many people like, oh, sports are stupid, why am I going to sit and watch some other people play this game, and I don't care who wins the Super Bowl or the World Series or the Stanley Cup or whatever. But, I've realized that sports are something very good to get passionate about, because if you think about like all the wars that are fought, like all the people get passionate about nationalism, about their religion, about a particular ideology, and it causes huge wars. What happens when people get passionate about sports? You hear about sports brawls once in a while, but, apart from that one time in Latin America in the 70s, there's never been a war over sports. And it's just something that unifies you with the people in your area. Like when I see someone coming into my Wawa with a Phillies hat, I can be like, yeah, Phillies, awesome. Did you see, Doc Holliday's perfect game? Wasn't that awesome? And it just it's an instant bonding mechanism that just binds you to the people of your area. It's just something that helps you belong to your area. And it took me really 25 years to get that. Mainly for me it's baseball. That's really always been my favorite sport, but this year I've become much more into the Phillies, and this is something I've done along with my friend Brian, the paratrooper. And if anything, he's definitely a much bigger Phillies fan than I am, but together we sort of really gotten into the team, and it's great, And now with the Flyers, and to the lesser extent, the Eagles and the 76ers, but mainly it's the Phillies and the Flyers that we've been getting into recently, and it's very awesome. It's just very exciting when you are in a stadium with thousands of people and you are all screaming over the same thing, the batter hits the ball and it goes up in the air and everyone's like, oh, and then the opposite team catches it, everyone's like, oh, you're all having this reaction together and you're all in sync, and there's something very sublime about it. And so I want those of you out there who think that sports are stupid and that you don't like following sports just to think about that for a second, and maybe give the sports team in your area a chance, or just come on over to the Philly sports because we are the best city in the world. All right. Well, at number 5, the fifth thing that has made this year not completely suck is my sister graduated college this year, and she is now teaching Japanese students English in a province in Japan. Now, this one doesn't strictly have to do with me, but, she's my younger sister, younger than me by 3 years. She's 22, and, we were very close growing up, and we remain close as adults, and there's just, when you've grown up with somebody, you feel an empathy to them, a connection to them that's stronger than anything. It's stronger than the connection you have to your best friend. It's stronger than the connection you even have to your parents, in a way, because you've been through everything together. And just to see somebody like that doing so well is just a wonderful thing. I remember her graduation back in May. She graduated from Gettysburg College here in Pennsylvania with a degree in classics, like classic studies, ancient Rome and Greece and things like that. I went to her graduation with my parents, my grandparents, my aunt and uncle, and it was a real good time. I never graduated college. It was, for my grandparents, it was the first time they saw one of their 4 grandchildren graduate, because my sister is the next oldest after me. And it was just a very proud moment for the whole family. And, I'm pretty sure it made my parents think that all the work and sacrifice they put into, going to good school districts and making sure that we got good grades and saving up enough money to put kids through college has finally paid off for one of the 2 kids. And if it's paid off for one of the two, then the endeavor was worth it all along, even if it didn't work out for me. And, you know, it's kind of nice because I feel there's a little bit less pressure on me. You know, it's kind of ironic because you'd think would be more pressure on me to succeed if my sister is succeeding. But I feel it's the opposite, you know. If she's the one doing better, it sort of means she's carrying on the family legacy more than me, and I have to worry about it less. Even as such, like, right after her graduation, I kind of got pretty depressed about things, you know, about my life. And at the time, Brian thought I was jealous of my sister, and I kind of just, like, agreed that I was, but I really wasn't. I mean, he's an only child, so I don't think he would really understand this, how brothers and sisters, you know, any siblings, but especially brothers and sisters, feel about each other. You know, she's like the one person who I could not be jealous of, no matter what she does, because it's like we're so close and connected that her success is my success too. And that's why it has scored so high on my list. And now she's over in Japan for an entire year teaching English to Japanese students in 3 different high schools. And that's pretty impressive. And that's very cool because my sister has been a complete Japanese fangirl since, I don't know what age, like 12 or 13, I would guess. And she's always, you know, I mean, I've never been a huge fan of Japanese culture. Not like I'm not a fan. I have a very deep respect for Japanese culture, you know, both traditional and modern pop culture, but I'm not a Japanese fanboy, so to speak, you know. But she, on the other hand, I'm sure she's wished she was Asian at points, or she was Japanese or something, and now she has a chance to live among this culture that she has loved for over a decade, and it seems that she's really enjoying herself over there. It's just a wonderful thing to realize, you know, and so I'm just very happy that she has been so successful this year. All right, the number 4 thing, the number 4 reason why this year hasn't completely sucked is I've gotten to know Philly. It's kind of funny because when I was in my teens and early 20s, I just wanted to move somewhere else. I thought where I lived was lame. Even though I was really focused on like the very specific suburb I lived in at the time. But, you know, it took a long time and several moves to realize the grass is not greener on the other side after all. Now, I've sat and I've thought about, you know, I've gone over like, you know, sometimes in my darker moments I'm like, do I have the capacity to feel love anymore? What things do I love? And I try to go over things that I love that people would think that I would love, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel like a real love for that, you know? But then when I think about Philly, I think I really do love Philly. I don't just say that like, oh, I think it's cool. I think I have a genuine, deep affection for it. Like, when I'm going down the streets of Philly, I just feel this strong, like, feeling of affection and belonging that I've never felt anywhere else that I've been. And, you know, with my random drives that I've had over the course of this year, so many of them have been through the streets of Philly, and I can tell you, I've had dozens of drives lasting many hours, and I still have only seen like a small portion of the city. There's still so many streets I haven't been down. It's just, you know, just so much life and just so much, you know, personality to this city that, you know, getting to know it over the past year has been so great. I mean, you know, it's also partially because this is another thing I've been doing with Brian, because he only just moved down here this year. And I moved from a place that was like 10 miles, 20 miles away from Philly to a place that was only a mile or two outside the city limits. And so it makes it just very easy to go into the city and explore and spend time. You know, I can drive around. I can take the train down there, spend time at Center City. And even Brian originally even wanted to go to New York for New Year's this year, but we both changed our minds about that halfway through the year. We're like, you know what? Do we really want to go to New York? No. You know, we need to go to Philly again because that's where we belong. And so that's that. You know, we're going to Philly for the third year in a row, and we have no regrets about doing that. And it's just very great to get to know the city, and I hope that eventually I'll be able to move within the city limits. You know, live right in the midst of all the action. That's my hope anyway. Alright. The number 3 thing that made 2011 not suck was discovering My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Now again, this is actually a lot more, you know, serious and meaningful than many of you might think. I discovered My Little Pony near the end of September, and I went from only vaguely being aware of the show to being a full-on brony in the space of just 2 days, and it was just amazing. I mean, just like I said with Minecraft, when you find something that you can just get into and just enjoy and love, you know, it's just a wonderful thing in and of itself. But when you get something that's just like so refreshing, I mean, our culture these days is so dark, and I mean, even internet culture is just centered around, oh, who can be the most desensitized, screwed up human being possible. And, you know, things like 2 Girls, 1 Cup reign, and, you know, and people are like, oh, I'm hardcore, and it's like a pissing contest about how hardcore you can be and everything. And suddenly something comes along that's just so cheerful and so endearing and so engaging that it's just like a breath of fresh air. It's like you've been suffocating this entire time, and you don't even know that you're suffocating until you take in this breath of air. And that's what My Little Pony was for me. It just brightened up my life in such a profound way, you know. And I feel, you know, it just brings me a giddy sense of joy whenever I sit down to watch a new episode or even rewatch an old episode. And, you know, it's just like so powerful to me. And especially being around all the other bronies, you know, both on the forum and in the web in general, and to have this thing in common with them. You know, like I said about sports, it's a binding mechanism. It binds you to a certain group, and it's just amazing. I mean, you know, bronies, we're all about love and understanding. You know, we're not about trying to, you know, gross each other out, or, I mean, sometimes we are. You know, there's plenty of grim, dark pony fanfics out there, but overall, we're a bunch of people who just want to love and tolerate the crap out of you. And it's just been so much fun. And, you know, yes, I gotta say, Twilight Sparkle, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, Fluttershy, Applejack, and, of course, who did I forget? Pinkie Pie, of course. You have lightened up my life, and I wish I could just give you all a big hug right now for doing that. Yes. Okay, and the number 2 thing that has made 2011 not suck so much is all the friends I've made right here over the internet by means of Bone Canoe 86, Suddenplant, and most importantly, the House of Sim Forum. I mean, the whole House of Sim Forum was started in 2010, and I really got to know people that year. But it was not until this year, 2011, that I first started talking, directly to these people, who I can't really call my fans anymore because they're more than just fans. They might have started out that way, but now I consider them as friends. And it all started back in January when I had King of the Hip Hop on my Bone Canoe 86 to do guest commentary for an episode of SimCity 4. And it was good. It worked really well, and turned out we had very good chemistry talking together, and we just continued talking after we finished recording for like another hour or so. And, and this was despite what seemed like a very big age difference, like over a decade. But, first it was King, and then it was a few other people, and then it was, a bunch of other people that I started talking to, and there are several people now that I've met who I can consider personal friends, who I very much want to, eventually someday hang out with in person. I mean, most of these people obviously don't live near me, but hopefully someday it can happen. Start saving up your money, folks. When I turn 30 in 4 years, you're all going to fly out to Philly. We're going to have a big party. You're all going to get drunk, and it's going to be fun. But yes. And also, I told you about back in the summer how my work friends really got me through the depths of depression and sort of made things okay. That was only half of the equation. The other half of the equation was when I would come back here and I would talk to my good friends on Skype. And, just being able to talk and, communicate with another human being, take my mind off the things that had been bothering me, it really made me feel a human connection. And in the darkest of times, that was a comfort that sustained me and kept me going. And I can't be more grateful. I mean, it's just an amazing thing that's come out of this year, and I can't imagine life without these people anymore. Like, if I just said, okay, I'm not doing Skype anymore, I'm not talking to any of these folks anymore, I can't imagine that anymore, because that would just be something that's completely different and foreign. And now, the number one thing that has made 2011 not suck this year, I have started eating better and going to the gym. This is the key thing that I have done different than ever before, that has completely transformed the way I think about myself, the way I act, what I do. I mean, I have always been a person who's reasonably fit. I've been able to eat whatever I wanted, and I didn't gain a pound. I would stay thin, and I'd gorge myself like every day, and I'd remain thin, and I'd sit around all day, and I'd remain thin. And everyone would be like, oh, how do you do that? I'm like, I'm just cool like that. But then, starting about 3 years ago, but really spiking in the last year or two, I actually started to see some pounds come on. And it got to the point where I was even getting a bit of a gut. And I was, I was also starting to get a little angsty over my age, Not that 25 is very much, but it's the oldest I've ever been. And I'm like, wow, there's like air between me and like the youngest adults now, I'm, it seems like the attention of people, the attention of society is most squarely fixed on the young adult population, like the 18 to 24. And now that I'm starting to go out of that, I'm like, well, I'm becoming old, in a way. I couldn't just walk into I can't pass off myself as 18 anymore. I mean, maybe I can. I don't know. But, I'm now above the traditional college age. If I went back to college, I'd be considered like an adult going to school rather than a college student who of college age. And, but more importantly, I felt that, my physical condition I was getting like flabby. Like I've never had fat on my body before, and I was getting like a gut. I was starting to get the beginning of moobs, and it was like, I don't want to be fat. This is weird. So I started to work out. At first, it was a pain in the butt to get myself to go. I joined the gym back in April, but for the first 4 months I barely went at all. And by July, I became pretty apathetic about it. But then in August, I had sort of a revelation of sorts. I wanted to turn over a new leaf in my life. I mean, it was a big plan I had to change my life, and the majority of the plan actually failed, but one thing from the plan took off and made the whole thing worth it. And that was going to the gym. Starting in August, I went to the gym like at least 3 times a week. And I've been doing that now for 4 months, and let me tell you, the more I do it, the more I want to do it. I went from making myself go to the gym, to going to the gym, to not being able to wait until I could get to the gym. It's like, oh, I want to get done with work so I can go to the gym. And, there was one day, like, I almost flipped my shit because I couldn't find my gym clothes. In previous days, or previous periods of my life, I'd be like, well, I'm not going to the gym today, I guess. But no, I was like looking over and like, oh, where's my damn gym clothes? And then I found I had already put them in the bag like 5 minutes before and forgot. I'm like, oh, there they are. Like, I was willing to be late for work to look for my gym clothes. So that's how much I am into it now. And, when I was a young kid, I used to think of myself as weak, like a weakling. I don't think I was, but I thought of myself that way. In my young adult years, I thought of myself as like a moderately strong person whose main ability was to run away from trouble if it ever came up. But now I feel strong, I was curling 70 pounds today, and I set a new record for running. I ran 4.5 miles today at a 9-minute mile pace. That's 6.8 miles per hour without slowing down a single time for that entire 40 or so minutes that I was running. And let me tell you, it felt good. It's one of those things. It ties back to one of the other points I made earlier about my work friends. They really were the inspiration, a couple of them in particular were really the inspiration that kept me going and kept me doing this. I have this one friend at work. He's a couple years younger than me. He's like 20, but he has like this sculpted body. It's like, it's ridiculous. Like, he has these every muscle is like well toned and defined, and I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing. How do I get a body like that? And he's like, well, this is what I do. So I've just been trying to emulate what he does, but I've also been adding my own style because he's not as much of a runner as I am. I have always been a cardio guy. I've enjoyed my bike rides, but now I'm running. When I started running, I would go for like a mile, maybe a mile and a half, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm done. But now I try to add a little bit more. Not every time, but every few times. I went to 3, then 3.5, and then 4, and now 4.5. And my goal is to get to 7, so I can run for an entire hour without slowing down or taking any breaks. And like I said before, this also ties into eating better, because I used to gorge myself all the time. Now, instead of getting like a foot-long hoagie, I get a 6-inch hoagie. And just like, I pace myself when I eat. And I'll still gorge myself occasionally, but it's only an irregular thing anymore. It's not like, must eat. And, you might think that only fat people have eating problems, but no, thin people do too. They just are lucky enough to be able to hide it. Well, my luck was running out, so I decided I had to change. And I can tell you, I have so much energy. I'm a freaking tank. I can take on any task and crush it. Because I have the ability, I have 3 things going for me. I'm strong, I'm fast, and I have incredible endurance. Most people are lucky to have 1, let alone 2, and I have all 3. That just shows how magnificent I am, I guess. I am just that cool. And it's all because, partially because I have good genetics, but mostly because I'm really pushing myself to work out. My friend told me it's like, once you get going, it becomes like an addiction. And I'm like, I don't know. It really seems like a chore. But no, now I really like doing it. It's amazing. And if you guys don't work out, again, it's a high recommendation that you try it. Guy or girl, young or old, doesn't matter. Just a little something for you. Well, that concludes my list of 11 things that make 2011 not suck so much. You know what? Now that I've come through that, this year wasn't that bad. I mean, okay, it was bad. Like, I was unhappy most of the time, but so much good happened in all the bad that I think I'll remember this year, like, once time has gone on, when it's 2014, 2015, 2016, sort of the bad things will sort of fade away a bit. Like, they'll become irrelevant. And these good, positive things that have happened, these developments that have started, will be the ones that stick with me. And maybe I'll remember this year in a better light in the future than I think about it now. Well, thank you all guys for listening. And I hope you have a wonderful new year, and let's hope that 2012 is an excellent year for everybody.